Apparently, I can go ahead and record it. So, yes, we are recording now from my computer.
Well, as we were putting our tree up a few days ago, and I was trying to put the snowflakes on it that my grandmother had crocheted and the angel at the top that grandmother had crocheted, thought a lot about grandparents and what they have to do with Christmas. We have a lot of memories of the past Christmases with our grandparents, and for brother Dave and me, we remember having Christmas breakfast at our mother's parents, that's grandmother Barnett's house, where the table was set for about 24 of us. Grandmother had placed ceramic bells with our names on them around the table to designate where we sit. I still have those bells. Grandfather always gave each one of his grandchildren a $2 bill for Christmas. I still have some of those too. Then around noon, we had a big Christmas dinner that included the other side of the family and our Mills grandparents. And many of us were at both gatherings because, as you know, 3 of the 5 Mills brothers had married 3 of the 5 Barnett girls. And at both places, we took, we drew names at around Thanksgiving so that we'd know who to give a gift to at Christmas. All the families always took gifts to our grandparents. And one year after mother had tried really hard to wrap a decorative rug for grandmother in a way that would make it difficult to guess the contents, one of my very young brothers, hardly big enough to carry it or lift it, proudly delivered it to grandmother and dumped it in her lap and said, "Grandmother, here's your rug." So all those memories come to the surface at this time of year for us. As I've been thinking about my grandparents, I've also been thinking about being a grandparent. So the title of today's message is Christmas and Grandparents. I looked in the concordance of my Bible to find helpful passages about being grandparents and found just a few to share with you. Grandparents isn't a big word in the concordance. In 2 Timothy, which is a letter from Paul to Timothy, his dear young friend, Paul writes, "I thank God whom I serve as my forefathers did, with a clear conscience as night and day. I constantly remember you in my prayers. Recalling your tears, I long to see you so that I may be filled with joy. I have been reminded of your sincere faith, which first lived in your grandmother Lois and in your mother Eunice, and I am persuaded now lives in you also. For this reason, I remind you to fan into flame the gift of God which is in you. For God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power, of love, and of self-discipline." Lessons from our grandparents. Another letter to Timothy from Paul gives advice about how Timothy is to treat widows and elders. And at least 2 or 3 of us who are grandparents here are also both widows and elders. This letter is in 1 Timothy chapter 5. Paul writes, "Do not rebuke an older man harshly, but exhort him as if he were your father. Treat younger men as brothers, older women as mothers, and younger women as sisters with absolute purity. Give proper recognition to those widows who are really in need. But if a widow has children or grandchildren, these should learn first of all to put their religion to practice by caring for their own family, and so repaying their parents and grandparents, for this is pleasing to God. The widow who is really in need and left all alone puts her hope in God and continues night and day to pray and ask God for help. But the widow who lives for pleasure is dead even before she lives." Well, I'm sure I do not have all the answers, but today's message is meant to consider how we grandparents relate to our grandchildren, whether they are grandchildren by birth or unofficial adoption. Some of us have been trying to think of just the right gifts we can give our grandchildren at Christmas. Maybe those of us who have grandchildren find it difficult to relate to them and have no idea what gifts would make them happy and would make us feel appreciated and that would align with our principles. They may like something electronic, but we probably don't know enough about technology to shop for that. They might like stylish clothing, but I resist spending good money on jeans that are ripped and torn, probably because I remember when we were ashamed of wearing such clothing. And then some of our grandkids already have everything money can buy, and they might have on their wish list items we don't want them to have, like tattoos. Blessed are the grandparents who know their grandchildren well and share some of the same life values. When we know people well, we might know what books they read. We might know what movies they like to watch. We might know what kind of clothes they need and like to wear and what kinds of other gifts you could feel good about giving. A few years ago, I asked my grandson, Mateo, "What are you reading on that Kindle, or is that a Kindle?" And he said, "A reading? Grandma, you don't know much about kids, do you?" I'm not reading, I'm playing a game. Well, never mind that I spent 34 years of my life working with 5 to 12-year-olds in an elementary school, but I guess things were different then. If you are not a grandparent and you feel like you are missing out on that kind of blessing, hopefully you have adopted some other child or children you can be a grandparent to. Most of the grandchildren my parents had lived very far away, or at least moved far away after college. So they occasionally took into their hearts and their home a few children whose grandparents did live far away. That would be Nick and Carly and Kristen Berger, who my parents cared for often. I'm sure that if you would like a grandchild, you could call the local school and someone there could pair you up with one or more children who would absolutely love your attention. Today, I'm wondering about the grandparents of Jesus. What information about the mother of Mary is available but not in the Bible? What can we find out about the parents of Joseph, the legal father of Jesus? Well, my research comes up with this. According to early Christian writings, Saints Joachim, is that the way to say it? Joachim and Anne were the parents of Mary. They are traditionally honored by Christians, especially in the Catholic and Orthodox traditions, though their names are not in the Bible. One source says that the name Joachim is derived from a name that means Yahweh prepares, and the name Anne means grace. We don't know what kind of parents they were to Mary, but if God chose Mary to give birth to and raise his son Jesus, Mary's parents must have nurtured her in all the right ways. We just don't know if they had any real time and influence in the life of Jesus. Joseph's father was either Jacob, which it states in Matthew's genealogy, or Eli, which is what it states in Luke's. Joseph's mother is not named anywhere that I can find, and one source suggested that Joseph was an adopted child. However, there are 2 elderly people named in the Bible that did have an opportunity to influence the life of Jesus. I'd like to read those accounts from this Bible. From Luke, chapter 2, starting with verse 21. On the 8th day, when it was time to circumcise him, he was named Jesus, the name the angel had given him before he had been conceived. When the time of their purification, according to the law of Moses, had been completed, Joseph and Mary took him to Jerusalem, which is about 6 miles from if they started in Bethlehem. They took him to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord, as it was written in the law of the Lord. Every firstborn male is to be consecrated to the Lord, and to offer a sacrifice in keeping with what is said in the law of the Lord, a pair of doves or 2 young pigeons. Now there was a man in Jerusalem called Simeon, who was righteous and devout. He was waiting for the consolation of Israel, and the Holy Spirit was upon him. It had been revealed to him by the Holy Spirit that he would not die before he had seen the Lord's Christ. Moved by the Spirit, he went into the temple courts. When the parents brought in the child Jesus to do for him what the custom of the law required, Simeon took him in his arms and praised God, saying, "Sovereign Lord, as you have promised, you now dismiss your servant in peace. For my eyes have seen your salvation, which you have prepared to the sight of all people, a light for revelation to the Gentiles and for glory to your people Israel." The child's father and mother marveled at what was said about him. Then Simeon blessed them and said to Mary, his mother, "This child is destined to cause the falling and rising of many in Israel, and to be a sign that will be spoken against, so that the thoughts of many hearts will be revealed, and a sword will pierce your own soul too." There was also a prophetess, Anna, the daughter of Phanuel of the tribe of Asher. She was very old. She had lived with her husband 7 years after their marriage and then was a widow until she was 84. She never left the temple, but worshiped night and day, fasting and praying. Coming up to them at that moment, she gave thanks to God and spoke about the child to all who were looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem. When Mary and Joseph had done everything required by the law of the Lord, they returned to Galilee, to their own town of Nazareth, and the child grew and became strong. He was filled with wisdom, and the grace of God was upon him. The notes in my study Bible add that the time of purification after the birth of a baby is about 40 days. So they went to Jerusalem when Jesus was about 40 days old. 40 days. The notes also add that the Holy Spirit came to Simeon was not the same Holy Spirit the way the believers were affected after Pentecost. Rather, Simeon was given special insight by the Spirit so that he would recognize that Jesus was the Christ, the Messiah the people were expecting. So neither Simeon nor Anna were around to be with Jesus as he was growing up, but they delighted in the occasion of his birth and likely confirmed to others the significant role of Jesus and his impact in the lives of those in his and our world. Now, we may have had to dig deep into these scriptures to glean helpful wisdom on how to be good grandparents, but I think it's okay to consult other sources for that. So I have found some lists of ways to be a good grandparent. Number 1, show interest in your grandchildren's lives. Converse with them often to ask them about their activities. Seek their opinions, and we need to attend their performances and games. Number 2, do activities with them. Play games with them, keeping in mind, of course, your physical ability to do so, and be silly sometimes. 2 of my grandchildren were playing Ring Around the Rosie with me when they were quite young, and when we said all fall down, I sort of fell with my head on Cohen's tummy. He said, "Grandma, you can't play this game. You are too big." Number 3, be available and accessible for times they need care and encouragement. That may be more difficult with grandkids who live far away, but today's technology offers FaceTime and free long-distance calls. Number 4, you will likely need to instigate these connection times, but do so with respect for their time and schedules. Don't be a burden to them or their families, and certainly don't show up unannounced. Number 5, respect the rules and boundaries of their parents, even though you might think you know better ways of raising their kids. And don't keep secrets with your grandchildren that can't be shared with their parents. Build trust with all involved. Number 6, avoid favoritism. Try to spend one-on-one time with each grandchild and keep purchased gifts close to equal in value. When bragging about them, find something good about each one to brag about. Number 7, find ways to pass along your family history and stories. Include sharing your faith traditions and your faith journey that have formed your values. Number 8, pray for them daily and with them as opportunity presents itself. Number 9, use your time with them to be a mentor and role model. And number 10 are these words from Moses to the Israelites in Deuteronomy. Be careful and watch yourselves closely so that you do not forget the things your eyes have seen, or let them slip from your heart as long as you live. Teach them to your children and to their children after them. May your grandchildren or any other children in your life be blessed by the light and love that God has given you throughout your journey.
Sylvia and Lynn for your offerings this morning. Please excuse our darkening the screen. We've been having internet problems today. So we know folks need to leave. And we wish you well for this week. And for those who can stay, we'll continue with unprogrammed worship.
Thank you, Sylvia and Lynn. Nice message.
Very nice, both of you.
Thank you, Sylvia and Lynn.
Thank you.
friends' hearts are clear, we can close meeting for worship.
Good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Stay warm.
Yeah.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. You too.
Hope to see you next Sunday, everyone. Be well.
You